So, Malin ma'am, we are live now, and over to you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Chandan. Pranam Guruji. Namaste to all. During one of the satsangs, Guruji asked, have you ever wondered, beyond a biologically evolving being, who you really are and who decides it? A sense of our histories of education or wisdom? When we ponder over it, the churning within begins about our real identity. Darpan Foundation welcomes you to Upanishad with Guruji Shri Nandkishore Tiwari, propounder, Sahaj Smriti Yoga, and our host, Dr. Raj Vedam, co-founder, Indian History Awareness and Research. Guruji established Universal Forum for Human Dignity in the year 2002 and founded Darpan Sahaj Smriti Yoga Ashram at Urigam in 2018. Guruji propounded Sahaj Smriti Yoga system of self-realization along with Sahaj Smriti Kriya, an absolute, effortless method to explore unexplored dimensions of one's existence. As the word Sahaj indicates, this is a path simple and easy to follow by householders and professionals. Under Guruji's guidance, Darpan Foundation is consistently working in areas of sustainable living, education, conservation of nature, health, sanitation, and enabling senior citizens to meaningfully contribute to the society. Through the various social transformation projects, we have touched more than 5,350 students, 26 schools, and 42 villages. As India continues its battle with COVID, Darpan Foundation has expeditiously stepped in to combat the unprecedented public health crisis. Through our COVID management initiatives, we are equipping the primary health centers and triage centers with oxygen concentrators, personal protective equipment, and other essential medical supplies to ensure the safety, health, and well-being of the very lifeline of the primary health centers, that is our frontline medical staff. We delivered home-cooked nutritious meals to them during the lockdown. We are also conducting regular meditation cum relaxation sessions for the frontline workers to ensure their well-being. Karnataka Doordarshan, DD Chandana, telecasted a special feature covering the exemplary COVID relief work done by Darpan Foundation. Our distinguished host, Dr. Raj Vedam, has used tools of archaeology, archaeogenetics, and archaeoastronomy to put forward a strong thesis with verifiable facts on the antiquity of the Indian civilization and the many discoveries made in ancient India. Dr. Raj Vedam has delivered over 100 lectures in India and the US on the subject of scientific validation of narratives on history of India, in which he has a deep interest. He has conducted more than a dozen training workshops for high school teachers in India, orienting them on having a multidisciplinary approach to history. He has also revised history textbooks for Texas Education Agency, as well as for the state of Telangana. Darpan Foundation extends a very warm welcome to Dr. Raj Vedamji. The word Upanishad is made up of two words, Upa and Nishad, meaning sitting beside. Traditionally, seekers thirsting for knowledge would sit beside Guru and ask their questions. And that is the very essence of our Upanishads. Maximum seekers, maximum seeking is our motto. The Upanishad conversations bring in remembrance of our glorious past and keeps alive the spirit of seeking. We will be sharing our social media links, and we request you to visit our page, get to know about the continuous work we are doing, and if you appreciate what you see, do give us a thumbs up, share, and subscribe. As India celebrates 75 years of independence, let us demystify our identity and move towards true liberation. Today's topic is identity, Indian history, education. Without further ado, let us commence today's Upanishad. I request the audience to disable the video and mute the audio right away so that we can listen to this Upanishad without interruptions. Before handing over to our host, Dr. Raj Vedam, I request Guruji to say a few words.
Samam sarveshu bhuteshu tishtham parameshwaram vinashyatva avinashyatvam yah pashyati sa pashyati. Samam sarveshu bhuteshu tishtantam parameshwaram vinashyatva vinashyantam yah pashyati sa pashyati. Samam sarvam tishtantam samah ishvaraha. Samam sarvasya pratishthitam samavasthita ishvaraha hinaste atmanam tato yanaste atmanam tato yanti parangatim. Amritash putraha vayam. Today's 75th Independence Day, and we are celebrating Amrita Mahotsav of Independence. On this auspicious day, in this Upanishad, which is centered around our identity, our history, and our education. I am happy that Dr. Raj Vedam, who has come with a new vision to look at history and our identity in the popular narrative series. I welcome him and all the audience. As the Upanishad progresses, we will see who we really are, how we really are. With these words, I will hand it over to Marlinji so that she can hand it over to Dr. Raj Vedam.
Thank you, Guruji. I shall now hand over the session to Dr. Raj Vedam.
Thank you, Merlinji. Pranams, Guruji. It's a real pleasure to be on the Darpan Foundation platform, and I thank you and the Darpan Foundation for inviting me and having this valuable Upanishad with you. For that opportunity, thank you. My pranams again. So, Guruji, I would like to begin because today is a very important day. It's our Independence Day, August 15th. I think it is appropriate that we ask questions about our identity, whether at the national level or at the individual level. Who are we? Who are we as a people? What ideals do we believe in? What should our aspirational goals be? And how do we relate to our ancient civilization? One of the biggest issues that is facing us today is the following question. Is our ancient civilization worthless? Is it primitive? Is it bigoted? And do we have to discard our association with it completely for progress and modernity? This is, for example, the view that was started by the colonial people, by the missionary people, by the Eurocentric
Thank
people.
you, Nand.
And since the government and our socialist, Marxist education agencies have enforced this view in our textbooks, this is what we are teaching our children. This is what the government is enforcing on us. This is what the popular media is saying. So, Guruji, I'd like to open this with this interesting question. What is your response to the alleged worthlessness or to the value of our ancient civilization?
Thank you very much. As the tradition has it, that when we pose a question, we do Purva Paksha, and we do harsh beating of ourselves in that Purva Paksha, that in how many, as best possible way to analyze ourselves, that no one else can speak in such words about ourselves. To that extent we go, to create a station, a Purva Paksha. So you have spoken the harshest words about ourselves. I think none can speak much harsher than this. That is the first virtue of being honest, that we look at ourselves in the harshest way so that we are prepared. Now this question of identity, this is closely related with existence. And here in India, we call it Sanatana Bharat, which means eternal India now. So there are certain things, like when we are speaking, there is a limitation of this language, that how much transmission and transaction can happen in this Vaikhri language. There are higher forms of language, you and I all know, Madhyama, Pashyanti, Para. These lead us towards spiritual able. The way we evolve, then only we can speak on those languages and we move further, evolve. But this cannot be a defense, that if the higher knowledge is revealed only in Madhyama, Pashyanti and Para, then what for the people who know only Vaikhri? So this cannot be a defense, but this needs to be told. Now what to do? So with this language, we try to see things to the extent these are possible to see. And then once we get a sense of it, then we start moving. So here we take two words, existence and identity. Both are very related words. So here identity we call asmita in Sanskrit, and existence we call astitva. Both are related. So when we become seeker, because India is the land of seekers, all the time we are seeking and seeking and seeking. So that makes automatically us the upholders of knowledge, because that is the process of knowledge unfolding. So in that process, when you first question, when we are as an individuals we are asking, then we first ask existential question. But these questions come later. First comes identity. Why I am saying this so very simple way, that it becomes very clear, because identity begins first. And it has a we character, as you rightly posed the question for the audience, that who are we? Who am I goes to the existential line of thinking. But who are we? That is our identity, question of identity. And beginning is from there, human life, if we look at it as it is today, because there are two theories people are fighting as if these are two different theories. One is saying that we are of divine origin. Other is saying, no, we will evolve to be divine. Divine is common in both the narratives, though, but this difference is there. But there is a third narrative which says these two narratives are not different. They are same if you see them from the point of eternity. In time, when you see, then you have this duality, Dvaita. Otherwise, you don't have. So when we begin for seeking our identity, then look at how we are born. We are born, we are there in the stomach of our mother, in her womb, we come out. As child, So it is always we as an identity. So long as child we are in the womb of the mother, do we have another identity? No. Existence is different, but identity is same. Whatever is mother, that is child, because the part of the body. Now we come out for so long. Child doesn't know that he is or she is a separate entity. It survives solely on how the parents are thinking, how the mother is taking care. Slowly, even to when they are reaching to pre-teens, till that time also you may have seen these children start punishing themselves, thinking that my parents will suffer if I punish myself. This is commonly observable fact. That means still identity is that of we. So now when afterwards you say in the journey they go and they become seeker, then they ask the existential question, who am I? And then all that knowledge traditions which have been in India, which we call Upanishad, then they begin with simple queries. They goes to the Guru and he says, Tattvamasi, thou art that. And then slowly, ultimately he realized, Aham Brahma Asmi. But that is a long journey. Before that, there is Pragyana Brahmam. You have to realize. So certain, all the Mahavakyas of the Upanishads are journey of the seeker. So those are existential questions. When we realize it fully, then only we start seeing our identity clearly. So why I give this long explanation? So that we understand identity is always that of we. Until we realize the ultimate, then both become one. Till then, the journey is like that. So who are we as a nation when we say? No, we are the only known civilization. Nobody's known its beginning and end. Yes, I am saying this before you, who has come out with a lens to see the history through science from irrefutable facts. Like if you are saying, no, we are deciding our existence from the point of view, looking at the stars, that what is the star position at that time when this event happened, then who can deny it? And if you keep going back and back, you will always find yourself closer to that knowledge, that fountainhead, which tells you you are of the divine origin. That is why when I say that Amritasya Putra Vayam. So first thing, if we do not reach to that realization where we find ourselves in our experience as immortal being, and this can be experienced. That is the beauty. That we are repository of that knowledge, and repository not through books alone. There is much literature, but there has been living tradition. One after another seeker, the knowledge has been transferred, because experience is always individual. Until you experience, you cannot be confident of the truth. And that is what Indic traditions want, that you should, when you realize, when you experience, then only you should verify it. So that is the difference between trust and belief. Believing is not our tradition. Our tradition is that of trust. Trust and belief, simple difference. If somebody tells you walk one step, there is that shop or something there, that is trust. It is not that, and belief is that no, there will be a shop, you keep walking. That is not trust, that is belief. So our tradition has been that of nyas. The word nyaya comes there, nyas. Nyasi we call the trust. So trust is always between living beings. Belief can be anything. One person can believe, but trust, you always need another person. That you are trusting X and Y. You don't trust a dead thing. You trust a living thing. So as a civilization, as a culture, we go to that realization that we are eternal beings. That is our first truth. The one who has not reached to that knowledge, realization, we do not consider in our tradition that such person has become capable of, or medium or means or conduit of imparting that knowledge, because imparting happens automatically. One becomes nothing, and that is how that happens. So long as somebody is something, they can impart only the Vaikhari knowledge. They cannot impart the spiritual knowledge, and which makes you realize something we call a tindriya, beyond your senses. Senses becomes just means, but you transcend them. So we are, as a country, as a civilization, we are known for wisdom, that kind of wisdom, where our vakyas, see, when we say any vakya means so many people realize that and found that sentence to be true. As you say in science, any formula, or in mathematics, every mathematician coming and say, yes, this holds true. That is how these Mahavakyas come. It is not something repeating things and saying, oh, it is written there, so I am saying no. Until you have not realized, see, we say here in our tradition that you can't say Aham Brahmasmi. It is useless. Until you have realized, then you need not say. So you say this to quote the parampara, that others also realize, and still it continues. Because continuation has been our hallmark. So we are Amritasya Putra, means we are eternal being. Of course, body is not eternal, we are not saying, but you, as a scientist, you can say, no, even matter is never dying. So, but form is changing. So what about the ultimate being? When you can say such words about matter, then what about the one who is the ultimate? It is definitely eternal, and we can realize that. So we are, as a civilization, who we are Amritasya Putra. That is our first introduction. Then wherever we are, whosoever we are, that is how we keep progressing.
So very, very insightful answer there. I think, and again, I will come with historical, that is what I do. So I'll come with historical. We know from historical times how the rishis with their darshans were able to realize these great truths and give us these mahavakyas, which, as you rightly said, that we need to experience these things to make it part of the reality, our reality. That's where our goal of our civilization is as seekers. So, but what we see is in history, we have had certain identities. Initially, very distant past, when the rishis founding these great truths, we were all one. We were all seekers trying to sense of this wisdom. Actually, in the historic tradition, we find that we became astika and nastika. Some people who said that not darshanas are valid, only if I can see it, perceive it. We have the astika and tradition that came about in India. Eventually, much later, some people who in the West Asia, they take their own ideas. Like you said, there's a kind of divinity within, other one that's you are divine. So with this dichotomy, rejected mix of some practice, if you will, and that was experienced by 711 current era and so on, when invaders who had Abrahamic tradition here.
Cannot hear it all now.
All these names, and we became the other. We became the other, and so this is our identity, which was forced on us. Similarly, when the colonialists came, they came with their own lens and their own bigotry, and they said that, again, you're a pagan, you're a heathen, you're an idol worshipper, you're a casteist, you're Aryan, you are Dravidian. All these identities are manufactured, and unfortunately what I said is that we're seeing that even today in India, the textbooks are carrying these kind of, so children have got no hope, this ancient identity that we must aspire for. So that is absent in this education system. It is also absent in. So, like I said, today there is a position Indian identity as it is a fight between modernization and old fact. So, in the name of being modern, people are saying, let's discard all of our ancient past and so on, and get the identities or whatever identities they think is modern, they map it to them. So my question to you is the following: that we don't have mechanism to wisdom of our ancestors. If some people are lucky that they can come to ashram and foundations, their gurujis, they might not. But the vast majority have got no access to this wisdom because our education system has cut us out of it, and our traditional structures are all destroyed today, completely destroyed. They don't have the money to survive, and this is a situation to find. How do we find a middle ground? How do we reach the people who have strayed so far away? They've gone so far away, they, in the name of modernity, in the name of other things, so on. I'll come back again for our youth to understand this. So I'd like to know your answer, Guruji. How do we reach these people who the education system has ensured they will not to the wisdom of the past? He has ensured that whatever was the wisdom is perverted and twisted. How to teach the people and tell them this is what our civilization is? This is one of the greatest problems, I think, today. Contemporary practitioners.
Yes. So, yes, very relevant question, though there is some technical issue, but I could perceive your question. I was not hearing clearly, but I got it automatically. Okay. So, today when we are entering, and we say traditionally in ashram vyavastha, as our word says, that 75th year means now we are going to sannyas. So the country, you see, the eternal Bharat, the Sanatana Bharat, to it a child was born, which we called India in 1947. Now that child has become sannyasi. It has reached to the ripe age of 74 and it is running into 76. So transitional years. So sannyasi, we call that the one who performs its duty to the perfection. That is the sannyasi. So many definitions, but to make it simple is the one who is nastic, he can perform one's duty as it should be performed. That is sannyasi. So at this time, this transition is visible as everywhere. In this question also, that our people, own people, have gone so far away from our tradition that they have become skeptics, so many of us. And it is not their fault. We can't blame because so many factors were there. That's why I say a child was born, which I named India, from Bharat to India. Now we again have to go with ripe wisdom back to who we really are, Sanatan Bharat. So this is the distance between modern education, but it is not that everything is wrong in modern education. It is so good. So many things are so good. So how to align, how to regain your identity? If you have to begin anything, it all begins with a vision, how clear your vision is. And can anyone even imagine that there cannot be any vision possible higher than the vision of eternity. That is the limit of human consciousness, eternal vision. So if we have that eternal wisdom, we have that eternal identity, then how can our vision go wrong? But when we want to translate it on the ground, then if we are not following each other, one word comes, vidhi purvakam, the way it should be done, then the problem begins. And vidhi purvakam means remembering order, in what order it is. So here in this situation, first we have to reach to the parents. First we need to convince ourselves as parents, and we need to know what our real resources are, what our real legacy is, what our inheritance is, what our wisdom is. Then only we can introduce our children to that. It is not that I'm saying that should be in a timeline. Means at least first we should be clear about it as parents. So most of us, our generation people, they had this compulsion of leaving their mother tongue and going to English. Why? Because job opportunities, scholarships, grants, everything was easily available through English than through mother tongue. So this led them to go to English. But once you learn the language, with it comes the baggage of its culture. So what you read through that education, so you, as you told that people came and told, this is your identity, this is your identity, and this is being told mostly in English language, not any Indian language. Now English also have become Indian language, I agree to that. But at that time it was. And with that came that culture, and then they saw, no, everything good is happening there, because everybody will say their language. So there was neither our bureaucratic system nor our education system, everything was demeaned. And look at our plight. We were all the time entrepreneurial peoples. Entrepreneurship was our force, not going for doing service and all. In Hindi heartland, they have a saying, Uttam kheti madhyam van, nishad chakri bhik nidan. That means the West is agriculture. Then second best comes trading, that you are becoming trader, or services you are providing. Nishad chakri, but doing service is the one which if you don't get anything, then you start serving. If you are of not any good work qualities, then you start serving. And if nothing is there, then you just go for alms. So we never did anything like this, that we didn't glorify service. But that system which was put on us, education system, ICS and all that, what was it? Glorifying. If you have become ICS, then you have got a divine right to whatever you are saying must be true, that kind of a thing. So that subjugated Indian mind very much. Same political system, legal system, everything we adopted. And this became a very hodgepodge system. So people are confused now because of the genetic inheritance, because of the nature of our land. We have got that somehow that linking to our original knowledge. Somewhere subconsciously that is there. And that all the time it is coming out and saying, no, this is truth. This is not what I'm saying. But there is nothing to articulate it properly, because if you have to work and survive, then you are going through this modern education system. So your identity, you are confused as a generation, we all in that way. So that we are still negotiating. Now, people like you who have come with a clear lens and tell, because in spirituality is a long path, as I said, to reach to that real identity, you have to go through first this language, which we are calling Bakri. Here is your role, and their mind can be touched only through this language. Soul can be touched only through transmission and other spiritual processes, but mind can be touched only through this language. When first thing is when people are convinced that what you are saying is truth, is matching with the facts. So when people like you come with this clear historic perspective that the knowledge traveled from India to Arab, to Greece, to English world, and then back to India. So this whole cycle needs to be told to people clearly, correctly. Extra effort is needed because nowhere in our education system in India they are teaching this. The real history is not being taught. It is on the sidelines. As you well said, either you go develop your special interest and you start learning through different, go to library, search and find, or there is no system. This you do by saving your own time, what you would have maybe like to go for traveling or do your hobby or enjoy with your family. You are sacrificing that time and learning this, and then you are imparting it to the society. But once you are telling this, because inside everyone there is this thirst to know, to reiterate, to acknowledge, to assert who they really are. Because in this land, so many incarnations, so many saints and seers walk this earth, that vibration is there. So that craving for finding your real identity and asserting it is natural here. So everybody wants that, but there is no articulation. So articulation has to come from people like you, from all the branches of knowledge when they are proving scientifically, means with facts, that at the time what Aryabhatta said, then later on how it was said in the Arabic, then how it was said later on in Greek, and then how this whole things, when you are connecting to the extent with more and more development into different disciplines, when this is coming out, then their self-confidence is coming back, that they are not being told mythologies, so-called. I am using English word. If we start debating what I really mean, that will be a long topic, another for time, because this non-translatable issue is so big. When we say one thing in English, it is entirely because it goes only till mind touching. It is not this Indic language, because this orientation is always, we say Sabd Brahmati Vartate. That means they are saying at one point of time, you will renounce this language. You will go beyond words. You start speaking something else. So then these Indic languages, all the languages, which this have this orientation towards words melting into single syllables. The way they are composed, they are so lyrical that they go one into another, and thousands meanings are created depending on our evolution. And then you see, as I say, somebody asks, then I say, I don't see anything written in Gita. Then say, how? Then I say, if you go, all melts down. There is nothing written, yet everything is there. Because it transcends you to somewhere else. Now you no more need, and that Gita itself is saying. So it is not saying, if you realize it, it says the sabdadi vishyan tyaktva rag dvesh vidityacha. That means you go beyond words, you realize that. So this is our tradition, this is our confidence. Now these Amritas Putras are not finding their language, no articulation. They can't tell anybody that look how we look at world, and none else, no other civilization looks that way, because their visions are not that open. Somebody says brotherhood only when you are my brother in this definition. But we say, if Vivekananda goes to America, and there he said brothers and sisters, and he mean it. He is not saying whether you are from this religion or this land or that, then you are not my brothers and sisters until you join this group. In group, you become in group, then only you are brothers and sisters. No, you are brother and sister, whosoever you are. Because you are, that is why you are our Sahodara. We have come from the same source. So this broad vision only we have. Now, when we say that we have been custodian of this living tradition that keep seeing the world, but if other is seeing you enemy, that is where the problem begins. So why is others seeing you enemy? Because they want you to conform to their myopic vision. which they think this is the ultimate wisdom. Now the one who has seen the ultimate, how can he or she conform to become a myopic person? So this tug of war, you call it, or it is going on. But we have to tell them in a friendly way that, look, this is how we are. So articulation is needed at the mind level first. And that goes through facts, connecting lines, that look, we are not claiming that we have done anything. Yes, there are points, but this knowledge traveled like this. There now you utilized in a modern world, created things because necessity was there. In our place, people enjoyed the bounty of the nature. Their language and their understanding of prosperity is different. And now the world, because of these environmental problems, coming back to the same, forced, I would say, they are forced to look the way we used to look. Because environmental issues are creating that we will have to live in the proximity of nature. You will have to live with the nature. You are not controller of the nature. If you do that, then you are going on a wrong path. You are going on a self-destructive path. Now, repercussions are telling them. Still, this articulation is needed. Otherwise, again, that will happen. They say, no, you didn't know this. So this articulation is needed very well, that we didn't invent things. It is not that we were not capable. We knew it very well, seers and saints. If we invent something which has a pollution value, that for a long time there will be pollution on the earth with this product, then it will be harmful. It will not be helpful for us to sit in meditation and go for the higher realization, enjoy ourselves. Because the idea is, what I have, you should also have. So if I have a plastic, you have a birthright to have another plastic. So whole earth will be full with plastic. We never saw this the way others see, that no, few people can have this, others may not have more. In material terms, we never say. We say in spiritual terms, attainment is one's own, because that is path of the sadhana. But for enjoyment, we are not restricting anyone. So our seers did not invent those things, because we considered prosperity means having the fields full of bounty of crop, everything, creating arts, good temples, writing books, having discussions, and evolving that way. They say, Kavya Shastra Binoden Kalo Vachati Dhinta. This is what our culture was, that we, for leisure, we used to say we will enjoy Kavya Shastra Binoden. That is how we enjoy that. We do not enjoy things people enjoy these days. And this spoils. This have a repercussion on our senses. Now people are realizing. But we have gone so far. Now we have to come back. So when we say back, people catch words. Are you saying we should become primitive again? We are not saying. We are saying that source is eternal. Please have this negotiating, have this confidence that you are coming to a point where you become confident, and rightly so, that your vision has been the broadest one. And through this education, if our education, this simple sentence is introduced, that Amritas Putra Vayam, then whenever time comes, that child, that idea will stay in her head. And then when they find time, they will start exploring that, these Mahavakyas and everything, they will start doing that. So it is our responsibility to tell them both the things. Yes, you learn the English, you become a good professional, but don't forget your mother tongue, whatever it is. And that is where balance goes. So this, I said, transition period, little more we will have to work. It is in our lot what to do. We are in that situation that we have to work a little extra.
Right.
But this articulation is needed.
Yes. So thank you, Guruji. That is an excellent answer on this issue. So I have one more question on a couple of general questions after that. So in today's world, what we are finding is people have this very busy, modern, no time for any traditional practice. So typically now we find that if you're talking about a city like Bangalore or Bengaluru, we are finding that ability for people to get independent villas. So you have a flat perhaps in some very crowded room or two rooms. So there is a strange way, or we have to invent some new ways to take care of parents. And there are many challenges. Today, with one income, you cannot run a household. Husband and wife both the expenses. So we are seeing losses on the traditional identity and of our heritage, or samskaras, of everything we see. Whether even the morning, if somebody has to come in, of course, today in COVID, everybody's working from home. But if you have to go from, let's say, Jayanagar, you have to go up to Software Technology Park or somewhere, that commute takes about 2 hours in the morning. So that person has got no time to do Sandhya Vandanam or any practices he might have traditionally done otherwise. There is no time. There is no time to abide by the Dharma Shastra. Most people practice only at wedding or at birth of a child or maybe at death. Some people don't have the time even for those samskaras, even those are not there anymore. So they feel we are not Hindus anymore. We have lost touch with Hinduism so much. And I'm best described as an atheist. So they say today in the modern discourse, you go to the youth, especially in urban areas, they say we are atheists. We don't do anything Hindu. We don't practice fest. We don't have time for that. Not space to do that. Nothing is there. So, Martin over here, how do we contemporize the message of Sanatana Dharma? That is a question. It's a bigger question here. Bigger question is, are our Shastras, are they frozen in time? When Baudhayana, Katyayana, they are the Dharma Shastra so many thousands of years ago, is it such that we should never change it? It should always abide the same Dharma Shastras, which today is not possible. So is it a dynamic edition? Shastras also evolving. How do we try to tell the practitioner that you are still a Hindu, you are in this civilization, and like you said, that realization must come at some point where you ask the question, who am I and why am I here? What were my ancestors like? That needs to come. So my question is, how do we make this message that people stop thinking Shastras in a modern or contemporary sense?
Yes, Dr. Vedam, though little, your voice is breaking little, but I got the question. And so, see, our tradition is living tradition. As I hinted in the previous this thing, that so many shastras are created because at that time we were prosperous and knowledge was in abundance. So many, like these days people are writing literature. That time, that was people's life. They were enjoying this way by doing. So many shastras are created, but our tradition is living tradition. Nothing has gone out of date. There is no need even to quote any shastra. Why are we quoting? If I am quoting something or I read a slok in the beginning, that is just to set the tone that this is a central idea, we can move around it to understand, because whole journey it begins. What is in today's language, this simply those things can be told. What is whatever is being told in those shastras is very simple thing. Only this is coming through different schools. So many pairs of disciples and gurus are there, and they are creating the same thing. Literature, different journey. Like if suppose somebody is doing some writing in Bangalore, a pair is there, guru and shish. climate there, situation there, symbols there, one kind of narration. Somebody is doing sitting in Varanasi, another kind of narration. Somebody is doing sitting in Assam, another kind of narration. But the truth remains same. And our Adi Shankara caught it very well on dot, that it is everywhere the same. Only thing is that people are not traveling because of distance. That time the means of communications were not there, but still knowledgeable people traveled. There are instances like Bhaskaracharya second, you know very well, you quoted somewhere, that from here Karnataka to where he is, Bijapur to Ujjain, he is going there and get appointed there. So all India movement has been there. So all today, somebody who wants this Sanatan, this word, Sanatana, Bharatiya, the one who consider oneself, they need and go to a guru who's the realized one, that he'll tell you that this, all the Shastras, you can go through this only. This simple words, this is what we are saying, that you are eternal being. And how you are, that can be realized. And like in Sahaj Smriti Yoga, we say, you need only 1 hour's practice in 24 hours. And that too, you will realize that your 23 hours have changed. If they have not changed, there is no point in doing this. So this is so practical and living. Then how can we say it is outdated? It is much more relevant today. And every passing time which we say, it will keep becoming more relevant. Because this is Navanutan. We say, no, the Sanatana means Navanutan. It is all the time new, yet it is same. So the word Nitya, which we say, this applies to both, that it is always there and it is always new. So this is possible. Only thing is, they should not go by such notions that if they have not read 10 Shastra, it is good, very good if they read, they will have that understanding. But if they do not read, it doesn't need that. Your realization is not needing books. Sankara himself saying. So why when we are quoting, like I name the Sankara, or I name the Vivekananda, or I say Krishna, why I am saying this? This is for two reasons. That not only now, earlier also people have realized the same. This is for this. Another thing I am saying, yes, these people go through this tradition. If you want to move that across time, this has been like this, then so that you become confident. Because human beings' nature, till he has not crossed the mind, chitta vrittis, he gets influenced by other impressions. So to give them confidence, we quote. Otherwise, there is no need to quote. Simply what we are saying, you are eternal being. Aham Brahmasmi, Tat Tvamasi Asmi, Pragyanam Brahma. All these, what are they saying? Same thing, that you are that eternal being. Everything else about you is changing, but you are eternal. But what people are looking for, this and that. They are not looking for themselves, that who really we are. What has Shastra got to do with it? You are here and now living. You go to a living person and you start your journey. Then you will know whatever is written in Shastra, that you verify. It is not other way around. You realize, so you figure out that this what is written in Shastra is truth. If you do not realize, how do you know that it is truth or not? So that is why this tradition is always living. If I am reading anything in Gita, that means if this is realizable today, it doesn't, if it is not the same today, eternal, then what is the point of quoting in it? So it is, this is the same, that is all the time same, only everything else is changed. So those who have no time, they have sufficient time, they cannot hide behind this. This is inertia or ignorance. I am giving benefit of doubt. Otherwise, paucity of time is not an issue at all in realization. As I mentioned, I am quoting Sankara himself. He says, for realization, you do not need books. And through realization, through books, you don't realize. And after realization, what for you need books? But it should be heard in context. It is not to demean Shastras or books, which I have earlier said, that more you read, better you get open up. But that is to expand your mental horizon, nothing to do with your realization. That is an entirely different journey. That can be mind, you can cross just like that once you are ready for it. There are 4 stages we call this body, everybody it is visible, another is mind, third is self, and fourth is soul. And ultimately you have to go beyond that. That is your journey, which we call fourth. So how to travel this? That's why this sloka which I quote, that is about self. In first 2 slok, it is saying about the self, how to vinashyat swa avinashyantam. When everything else is changing, there are so many meanings. I am telling just one because of the time. That when everything else is changing, we can say vinashyat swa, even self is destructing. Then you are seeing avinashyatam. Then you are seeing that avinashi, that eternal one. Yah pashyati sapashyati. When you have seen that, then only you have seen. So who has seen that is the question. So you have gone one notch above. From mind you went to the self, and from the self, next sloka comes about Atma. Atmanam Atmana. Nahi nashyat Atmanam Atmana. You do not destruct your Atma through your mind or through your Atma. Then what will happen? Then Paramgati. Then you get that Paragati, which you all call ultimate, para language, which you are saying. You go into that. That means you go beyond words. You have reached to that reality, but that is not some imagination or hogwash or hallucination. That is why the living Guru. That is why I say trust, that when you do a journey, there is somebody to verify. From book, how will you verify? When you are in this realizational path. From books, you can realize things which are that of mind reason. That what happened when it is verifiable. And more science is progressing, and person like you, committed people who are coming, who are true seekers in my understanding, coming with the new dimensions. Look, you can see better. You are enhancing people's vision to see history, that this is how you should look at it. And you are doing that through facts. So time is not a constraint at all if the thirst is there. So 3 things in his spiritual realization we say, that first is having a human frame, and then second is inclination to divinity or reality or whatever name, or your true potential. If you are, somebody says I am atheist, I say this word for them because I have to take care of them also. So your true potential, you have thirst for realizing your true potential, and then proximity to a living Guru. These are the only 3 things you need. No books, nothing is needed. Later on, when you have reached, you can read as many books you want to read. Enjoy yourself through good literature. So much rich we are in literature in every dimension. Sanskrit, even you know it well, manuscripts are so many that no other language in the world has. Forget about the published words. So we have that plethora of knowledge if you want to enjoy yourself. But for realization, only these things are needed, and not much time is needed. If you have real thirst, maybe even few months, 6, 7, 8 months is sufficient. You become who you are, and then you start contributing to the world as a fulfilled human being. So nobody should take this plea that I have paucity of time. No, you don't have.
Wonderful. One wonderful answer, Guruji. Really enjoyed that answer. Quite a very pertinent, and it reflects my own journey in some of the things that I do. What comes to mind, you quoted Adi Shankara. So what comes to mind is Adi Shankara over here, where in Bhavani Ashtakam. So Adi Shankara says, Gatistvam Tvameka Bhavani. So he says, I don't know Tantra. I don't know mantra. I don't know how to do prayer. I don't know how to do anything. I have got thoughts. I have immoral habits. I am the company of evil. I don't know anything. Mother Bhavani, you are my only refuge. So it's showing he surrendered completely, saying that I know I'm completely ignorant. I'm completely ignorant. I don't know anything. But Mother Bhavani, you are my very inspiring stotram. that most people today in India can listen, or anywhere, not just in India, Bhavani Ashtakam. And that encapsulates our ignorance of today. Today, we are so remote from tradition, so much of ignorance. Bhavani Ashtakam of Adi Shankara, I think that was the inspiration. Also, in the way that I do things today as a scientist, same thing. I tell people there is no dichotomy in my being a scientist and looking at the traditions of our ancestors, because our identities are seekers. As a scientist, also, I'm seeking the truth. So, truth is what we are after. Whether you're going through some understand the inner me, who am I? That big question. Both are similar journeys. So I think I'll ask one last important question on my mind now, Guruji. We live in today's world where people think Google is the guru. Google is a place anybody will go and ask their questions. What is this? What is that? Wikipedia will give them all the answers today. In an instant, computer will get your answer. So there is so much of information out there. So people have that question, why do I need a guru? Because all the books are there. And if you look at perception and inference, I'll just go through my life experiencing whatever has to be. Why do I need a guru? Is there something special that Google that is giving me millions of returns? Each time I search something, million pages are coming up. Of course, Google does not have Viveka, nation that says knowledge, this is irrelevant knowledge. But the question in people's mind probably today is, what is the importance of Guru? And a related question, how do we find our Guru? How do we know that we have found our Guru?
Yes, very good question. So first thing I will say, look how things begin when we are in satsang. You started your Upanishad when you started. You bashed ourselves. We were doing our own bashing. That are we that bad? Are we that? And finally, same thing, knowingly, unknowingly, we are applying to the Shankara. That he is saying, I am that wretched person. Every worst thing he is speaking about him. I have this malice, I have that malice. So this is our tradition, because this cleanses. One is always aware that no cleaning is needed. Cleaning is needed. More be clean. Once you get that rasa of cleaning, that cleaning ultimately unfolds the knowledge. Then you see that, but in right perspective. So this is how things are eternal. What Sankara spoke at that time about himself, today, without any design, you are speaking the same thing. Beginning your Upanishad with that. That is how eternity and the present, and they are connected without our knowledge. So we say gurus, I give in Sahaji Smriti Yoga name, I called it Gay Agay, non-unknown. This is the term, non-unknown. Why? That's part of him or her is known because that one is human being like us, and part of us because he has traveled to the dimensions we have not traveled, so unknown. So journey, spiritual journey is what? From ignorance to supreme ignorance. So here we call ajnana when it is in the beginning. Otherwise, everybody will start saying, no, if the journey is from ignorance to ignorance, then what is the point in such a journey? It is not, that should be remembered. Ajnana and agge are two entirely different things. Whole the life is there. Whole journey of a seeker is there. Agge means that is so vast that it is unknowable. So this is the person whom we call Guru. Gay agge or gyat agyat, non-unknown, as in English we can say. Why the need? Simple. That as to see ourselves, we are ourselves. We have face and everything, but we go to a mirror to see, are we really? As we are looking, we are looking. So this is very cursory level. So to go a guru, it begins. But guru, mistakenly, people understand that every subject has a guru. This is a misconception. In Indian tradition, only a spiritual person is called guru. There is no adjective to that. It is just simply Guru. That has so many meanings. Not only remover of the darkness, which is taken commonly, the one Ga Uru, the one who has gone inside your heart and knows your Guru. That is Guru. So that mirror on mind level, like professions, like knowledge about avidyas, history, science, everything, that is can be given under through the books. You can, because it is verifiable. But spiritual knowledge is transmittable. This can be transmitted. So for that you need living being. This cannot be transmitted through books. Books are not living beings. So to know that, to get that transmission, that realization, that verification. So like we go in for verifying our knowledge, we have teachers and we have books, everything. Like for seeing our face, we have mirror. Likewise, realizing our higher self, who we really are, in which we could immerse ourselves fully, we need Guru. Guru means the all that which is, they say, Guru Parataram Tattvam Nasti. What they say? First they say, Upadeshanti Te Jnana Jnani Tattvadarshina. That if you go to such people, Pariprasnen, Pranipaten, Sevya, if this way you go, what will they knowledgeable was? They will Upadeshanti Te Jnana. They will give you Jnana because they are Tattvadarshina. But here what is being said about Guru is entirely different. He says, Guru Parataram Tattvam Nasti. Even beyond Guru, the Tattva is near. Tattva is somewhere down. So that way to realize that we need a living Guru, where we realize ourselves, our own truth, that who we really are. That can be realized only through a living Guru. There is no other path possible. That is why this Indian tradition is living Guru Parampara. Sanatana means without beginning, without end. It has always been living. So we need Guru. Now it comes to the second part of your question, how to find. If somebody is really thirsty of realizing, somehow that meeting happens. That has always been the case, and this is what verifies the mysticism behind it in real terms. If somebody is thirsty, somehow we reach in front of our Guru. This is my own experience. So I can verify it with open eyes, clearly, factually, that it happens. But after that, once that your heart recognizes, no, this is the person I should go and meet and talk and sit, then for some, don't be in a hurry. Be in a hurry means don't just conclude fast. Go. So many times meet that person, and every time your heart realizes more and more, then please don't run away from that person. Because it is only a seeker's heart who says this is Guru. There is no person who called Guru. It is a misconception. But it is only in a human being that a Guru is possible. So Guru is nobody but the person whom our heart recognizes. So if we are open and thirsty, this is the existence, you call it, if somebody is a theist, or God, or Paramatma, Parameshwar, Guru, whatever name you want to give, that the eternal one, I say, that makes this happen. But if we become lazy, inertia and doubt are two things which makes people run away from their liberation, reaching to the highest goal of life, for what's their purpose. Very many few people even find purpose. Not all find purpose in life. Like, I'm just giving and seeing it. You were an engineer, suddenly you found purpose in telling people the history. This is purpose of your life. But the goal of life of everyone is same, realizing they are the highest. So because of the doubt and inertia and not being so forthright, like thirsty, the word I use. If you are thirsty, you run towards water. So if somebody is really seeker, then the meeting will happen, but they should persist to go so many times, verify, become very clear that yes, every time their heart is saying the truth lies in this person, I can see that, I can realize that. That is how we recognize. No person can say, if somebody says, I am a Guru, come here, then run away from that person. He is never going to be the Guru, because Guru is not a person. It happens through a person. That is our living tradition. That is how we recognize. And this is happening. This is open mystery and so much clear in front of our eyes happening. But we need to have that thirst.
My pranams, Guruji. Thank you for all those wonderful answers that you have given. So really enjoyed all the questions. We learned a lot from that. So with this, I will turn it over to Merlin for the Q&A from Jack. So Merlin, please take over.
Thank you so much, Dr. Raj Vedam ji. We shall now take up questions from the audience. The first question is for Guruji. History as a subject deals with past events, and spirituality takes us beyond time and space. Can there be any correlation between these two seemingly contrasting areas?
See, same words we have, history, but in a spiritual field, history has a different meaning. History, we are focusing in spirituality on person, individual. It is, you can compare the facts like a screen, like you are in front of a screen or mirror, then mirror is reflecting your image. But you as a real being are in front of the mirror. So what we are considering in Western sense of the history, that is looking after your image in the mirror and telling that somebody is there, not the real person. But in spirituality, our concern is with the real living person. So the meaning of the same word history in spiritual field is different. This history, Dr. Raj Vedam and people like that, they will tell you better. But spiritual history, which we are calling, that is history of human heart, which is eternal, which we call the word itihasa, means that is how that one was. Itihasa, sa means wah, the iti means like this, hai, hasa, and another meaning is the ultimate thing in life is laughter. Hasa, itihasa means only the laughter is there, only the happiness is there. So when we travel through Indic tradition and vision and spiritual, itihas meaning changes. So yes, it is not in which you are speaking about history, that is the collection of these facts. So that is entirely different things, but both things are related, because like somebody can say you and I are at that point of time here, but we are eternal beings spiritually. So in that sense, both are one, otherwise both are different. Yes.
Thank you, Guruji. Our next question is for Dr. Raj Vedam ji. This is from our YouTube audience, Mr. Pavan Ramesh Chandra. He says, my son's ICSE 6th standard history book says, light-skinned people wrote Vedas. Is the skin color mentioned in Vedas?
So it is good that he's questioning some of these things. So when people make these kind of assertions, our response should be, what kind of evidence is there to support those kind of assertions? If people try to say, let us translate the Vedas and look for instances of color, now the question then comes, can the Vedas be translated? Because the Vedas are written in a metaphorical language. I think my internet is unstable, so I hope you can hear what I'm saying. If the Vedas is written in a metaphorical sense, so it does not communicate information where you can do word for word Sanskrit to English translation and take away a meaning from that. This is what we find throughout. So when people say light-skinned people wrote the Vedas, it is really an encoding of the Aryan invasion theory. This Aryan invasion theory says that these people from Central Asia, these warriors or these nomads, they came to India in 1500 BCE, 1500 BCE, and they brought with them Sanskrit. They wrote the Vedas in India, the caste system, and all the outcomes of the Aryan invasion theory. So the minute you see statements like this, we must understand the textbook writers have encoded an assumption of Aryan invasion theory. So I have spent the longest time trying to dispute any of these things because there's no evidence for it. There is simply no evidence. The evidence says people have been living in India the longest time. And India is a huge country. It is not homogeneous. There are people from the remote south all the way to the Himalayas in the east or west. We are a very, very big country. We are subject to various differences because of the latitudes that we live in, and based upon whether we carry an allele called SLC 24A4, which is responsible for expression of melanin in the skin, depending on which latitude you are on Earth and how much of sunlight you're getting, that will define your skin tone. So we are seeing a range of skin tones in India across different social classes, whether somebody is a Brahmana or whether somebody is a Kshatriya or whether somebody is a Vaishya or a Shudra, whatever you have called these classifications, we are seeing everybody's got a range of colors. You see dark-skinned Brahmanas and you see light-skinned so-called backward classes and so on. So the assertion that fair-skinned people came into India and wrote is one of the most unscientific ways of telling these things. So it's utter rubbish. This rubbish is based upon the Aryan invasion theory, which came through colonial Indology because of their desire to say, why is Sanskrit, Latin, and Greek, why are they related? So when colonialists like William Jones, they found the commonalities, they wanted to ask, why are these languages related? Are we so-called white Europeans related to the brown-skinned Indians? What is that relationship? To address that, a field called linguistics was born. And in linguistics, certain Eurocentric ideas were put in between the 1800s and 1900s. And because of which, this whole theory was concocted of Aryan invasion theory. But today, with evidence, we can clearly say these theories do not have a proper basis. So the notion that fair-skinned people wrote the Vedas does not have any support from evidence. That is the bottom line.
Thank you, Dr. Vedamji. The next question is for Guruji. People generally identify with their profession, gender, caste, religion, village, or country. Their real identity as a soul is hardly on anyone's mind. How can this be changed? Has it always been the case in human history where only a minority is spiritually oriented?
No, this is the case that, yes, attained ones have been few, but orientation of the education. Earlier, if you are talking about the Vedic period and Upanishad period, that time also only it is few people, it is true, but orientation more or less was towards spiritualization. So attainments were different, but the narrative was same and clarity was to everyone what is the way. So that way, yes, always it has been, and it has been written in also in very many shastras like Gita that among thousands, few only get it. That is true. Ratio has been less, but orientation has been same. So to how to get to that, once you have a thirst, that if this, you ask a question, if this has come out in your mind out there, it has started haunting you and inspiring you that you want to know who you really are, because you see people passing away day in and day out, but it is surprising that we do not ask that question while we here have that tradition of knowing ourselves. So once it begins with the thirst, as I have already told, that it is a thirst, means if you have or you do not have, that's how it is.
Thank you, Guruji. The next question is for Dr. Raj Vedam. This is from Ramji, and it's regarding caste system. Mallory and Adams suggested that Yamne had 3 social classes: priest, warrior, farmer, in around 3000 BC. Is it the first caste system? Can it be confirmed as per your analysis?
So when we use words like this, we have to be very, very careful. I cannot have a discussion on the basis of something called caste because there is no such word in any Indian language. We don't know what this is. We have no idea what caste system is. Caste is a word in English which came from the Portuguese casta, which represents their own divisions in their society for bloodline purity and things of this nature. In the Western society, in the Abrahamic tradition, because of Noah's sons, Ham, Japheth, and Shem, there was a certain understanding that when Noah cursed his son Ham, that he will serve his other two sons' descendants. The descendants of Japheth became the white people. The descendants of Shem became the Jewish people. And the descendants of Ham became the black and the other colored races and all these kind of things. So to preserve these bloodline purities in their mixed societies in Americas, the Portuguese came with this notion of casta. It is relevant to them on bloodline purity. We see no such thing anywhere in the Indian context. So to have a discussion on the basis of caste is self-defeating because we are taking a constraint that is irrelevant. So the words we choose must be very important. So we need to talk in terms of jati, varna. So that is a starting point. Now your question says that in Yamnaya is a place in Central Asia between the Caspian Sea and the Black Sea. And the people living there were called Maya people. Your question says that Mallory and Adams, who are two researchers, they have suggested, they did not go and verify, suggested that there was a social ordering and is that the beginning of this class division, if we can call it, rather than caste system. Well, my thinking is that, again, these are all outcomes of the Aryan invasion theory. The notion that in Central Asia, such a social ordering was already there, and these people who came into India imposed it here. These are all Aryan invasion theory corollaries. You must be careful when you read these kind of claims to ask for evidence. Where is the evidence? As far as today's contemporary world is concerned, we can make some conjectures. For example, today, in today's India, we can say less than 1% of the population are the PhDs and the professors in sciences and various areas. So out of 1.3 billion people, less than 1% have got advanced scientific or other knowledge. Remaining people have got knowledge in varying levels from total ignorance to a little bit here and there. This is the majority. This has been the case for the longest time. Even in ancient India, we can think that there were few people who had a lot of realized wisdoms. These people were able to guide society, either in terms of saying, this is how agriculture has to be done. Time by the nakshatras when you start sowing. This is a time on the practice of medicine and so on. So society probably organized around these people who had this wisdomization of society in the way that we have seen it. Typically, there would have been the teachers in the society, there would have been the warriors in the society, there would have been the farmers and other people in every society. It's an evolution of the social order that we see. There is nothing unique to Yamnaya. This kind of a social order was everywhere. The differences were what kind of pressures existed in those societies to maintain those social orders. For example, if you go to medieval Europe, after Constantine Christianity and after Theodosius and the Byzantine kingdom, the Catholic Church became very, very powerful. They owned all the lands. So the lands were given out to the peasants. Peasants were the serfs who were supposed to go and till the agriculture and such thing and pay a huge tribute to the church, taxes and so on. So they controlled it. In Egypt, we see similar, ancient Egypt. Everywhere we see it. In India, we do not see this. We do visible application of the social order. We do not see that. So one has got to be careful when you take researchers like Mallory, Adams, and they propose these kind of notions. Know that it comes from a story of Aryan invasion theory, which must be rejected. Know that you cannot use the word caste system to talk about the Indian social order. Reject that in addition. Then we can have what the real social order is. Back to you, Murli.
Thank you, Dr. Raj Vedam. The next question is for Guruji. Have spiritual gurus of the past participated in the fight for independence? We have not heard, read about such instances. We have never heard or read about the spiritual side of our famous freedom fighters. Did they have one?
Mahatma Gandhi is such a great example in front of all of us, whom we say father of nation, though some say it should be given to Ambedkar, but that is not our discussion. That is for the whole country. That discussion is there. But he said that I am ready to live in independence, but not the Ram. So such a spiritual person who was in politics, who is greater freedom fighter. So most of the freedom fighters were spiritual. Their professions were different, but all, and you name it, anyone. You say Malviya, Tilak, everyone. I mean, those who from across, I am telling, from Naramdal, Garamdal, Congress, from the common public, everywhere, and so many unsung saints. Those history we are not taught. They died unsung. They sacrificed themselves unsung. Small places, like in Bihar, like in Uttar Pradesh, in every part of the corner, there are stories and stories that how even to the Rani Jhansi, from that I know from very close quarters, that area, that how saints were there behind all that. And this is now verifiable. So history has to be written the way it really is, not through the prism of this ism or that ism. Then we will know many more names. There were umpteen number of freedom fighters. They were spiritual beings. Yes.
Thank you, Guruji. Our next question is for Dr. Raj Vedam. This is from Ramchandra Tripathi, our YouTube audience. When did untouchability start in India? How is it different from Japan's Hinin and Burakumin?
Very good question. But let me add to Guruji's answer. Also, who asked a question, we want to look up something called Sannyasi Rebellion. In the late 1700s, early 1800s, the Sannyasi Rebellion took over, where the sannyasis was the forefront of getting rid of the East India Company, if you will. And also, you should not forget Tilak's great contribution. Tilak was a person who brought Indians out of their very low self-esteem in Maharashtra out into the street, celebrating Ganesha festival, going in a procession. Till that time, idea. And it was literally the Ganesha festival which allowed Indians to come in huge processions and going on the streets and such things, that again ignited the freedom spirit. So just adding to Guruji's answer over there. Now coming to this question, when did untouchability start in India? Very good question. Very important to understand, because they're so perverted, the narrative in India by the Marxists. Today in India, we have something called COVID-19, because of which we are sitting in our homes, social distancing, putting on masks, not touching others, washing hands, and all the time we are in great fear. If somebody sneezes, we run for our lives from the room because we may get infected. So we have become aware of a worldwide pandemic right now. India is a tropical country. India has faced all kinds of tropical diseases, whether it's dysentery, cholera, malaria, smallpox. Every time monsoon comes, it carries fevers and other such things. India has experienced this annually and must have suffered great abuse. How did our wise rishis respond to these things? You should know that medicine was one of the first great arts practiced in India, the sciences. They've all heard of Shushruta, Charaka, Vagbhata, Ayurveda, from Atharva Veda, and such public health. Indians also were aware of a lot of other things. For example, the Vastu in a village. The Vastu in a village would have the Brahmins in one Agraharam in this place, and the Vaishyas in this place, Kshatriyas in this place, cremation grounds on the southern side. And these things were done for a certain reason. Again, you go back to history, written history. British came to India. They observed there were groups of divide themselves into groups and go into small villages and towns before the annual start of certain diseases and go and inoculate them, inoculate the villagers against the disease. What is it telling us? It is telling us that there was awareness of epidemics, awareness of inoculation, awareness of public health, how everybody's health is important, not just my health, my family health, but everybody's health. All these things were there. So there's also a story in Puranas that talks about Karkati. Karkati was supposed to be a demon that got a boon after tapasya. Brahma gives a boon and says that the demon asks, I should become as small as a pinhead and enters humans through the nose and eyes, especially those people who are immoral, who do not abide by the Shastras, who are gluttonous, who eat a lot, who have not got good habits, and the demon consumes them. So in that Puranic story, we are seeing echoes of hygiene. We are seeing echoes of disease transmission. India also knew that, our ancient Indians rather also knew that different professions expose you to different hazards. If you're a butcher, for example, if you're a butcher, then in the carcasses of dying animals and rather fly and a whole lot of other bacteria, you have got immunity because you work there. That immunity you give to your children, to your wife, to your community, you have that immunity. At the same time, somebody works in metals, they're probably full of metal vapor, and they have got maybe TB and other respiratory illnesses, but their family has got the immunity to it. The immunity is that Brahmin wakes up at 7 o'clock before dawn, has his bath and recites Gayatri Mantra, reads the Vedas and such things. He's got absolutely no immunity. The farmer at least is going to the field and working in coronaviruses, not only COVID-19. The soil has got a lot of coronaviruses. He's got immunity. Every category of people in India, because of profession, have got a certain immunity that was well understood in ancient India by the evidence that we have. And people also knew that ritual purity is critically important. If somebody, a butcher, were to come and have social interaction with somebody who, let's say a Brahmin for this case, because of the differential immunity that we have, people can get sick. So they knew that. That is why the Vastu Shastra, where people are in different parts of the town planning was done in a certain way. That is why the distancing that was followed. There is no maliciousness over here. There is no bigotry. It was a realization of public health. It was a reaction of society, understanding that public health requires this kind of separation between the people of different professions, jatis, if you will, and so on. For example, we say that the chandalas, the cremation grounds, these are the uncles in India, and so on and so forth. But guess what? Even the Brahmin, when he dies, he needs the services of a chandala to take him to the grounds, and after you come back home, you have a bath. Why? Because encoded these things, because of public. These things have terrorized view after the missionaries came to India and the British came to India. It has been as if Sanatana Dharma, which sees the oneness of everybody, Brahman and so on, as if such a philosophy is so primitive, it is practicing untouchability, as if somebody is greater, somebody is lesser, because of their definition of the so-called caste system as a pyramid with upper, lower, where such distinctions never existed in India. So we are seeing a combination of various bigotries, combination of ignorance, a combination of refusal to understand India's knowledge systems of the past, how they all come together to have the social structures that we have. Rather, the debate has been positioned as if untouchability is something of bigotry, and these manufactured identities like Dalit and other such things are politicized today with the idea to show that India is a bigotry-filled nation. That's a long answer. There's a lot to say, Merlin, but that's all I can say very, very quickly.
Thank you so much, Dr. Raj Vedam. Our next question is for Guruji. Can we call someone a Brahmin just by virtue of his or her birth? Who is a real Brahmin?
Very good question. And I will add to what Raj Vedam ji was saying, just to little that, since he mentioned Bachar and all. There is a well-known story of Dharma Vyad. That means realization. He was a guru, non-realized master. That means caste issue was not there as untouchability at all, the way we know caste. Tragedy is today we read through English, so we have to first denounce that word, what they mean, that we are aware, what do you mean by it, then tell our reality that in Indic way of things, in Indic vision, how things are. So that was never the case. And this is related question, that is why I added that somebody who knows the Brahma, that is called Brahman. This word, from where it originated, all these are professions, that you are doing something. If you are in the mode of doing tapa, swadhyaya, and you are doing yagna at that time, the meaning was different, ritual yagna. So if you are doing engage in that kind of profession, then they say that is different. So that was a profession. But Brahman, in the sense of Brahman, the one who knows Brahm, that means the one who knows how the eternal and the change at every time happening, how to correlate both, how to clear the narrative for the people of every time. That is what the meaning was. So that was the work of that. Without that realization, like that at the time, as we say, then this Sangama used to happen. They happened in Tamil, that is another Sangama, but I am referring to the Sangama at Prayag. So at that time, people will come, assemble, and born Brahman, we say, nobody is born Brahman, or everyone is born Brahman in the eyes of the Guru. Because Guru looks at everybody as Brahm, every being, every particle. So everybody is Brahm in eyes of the Guru. All else, what we are assigning by birth, which if we are referring to the jati, jati means we are taking birth, jata, jatak. We call the born, being born. So when you keep piercing the meaning of the word, then every word will melt into something else when you realize higher. So, but the contemporary sense in which the question has come, as I understand, then no. This being born in particular say and particular thing, that is not the reality. Only the one realized one is Brahm, and in the eyes of the one who has become, everything is Brahm. So Brahman comes from word that, not like that, the way you have told. No. All jayate janmana jayate shudra, there is a saying that everybody is born as a shudra. Then where from this thing comes that born Brahman, you become Brahman? If you don't do that kind of karma and you do not realize, it is means demeaning in your own eyes. That's what we are saying. So such things must go. They were never existing. Somewhere, as Dr. Raj Vedam is saying, that this term was introduced to us by the censors, by the Britishers, and we started trying to fit in. And we have to again dispel that darkness and come back to the reality that this is how we are. Everybody is Brahma. None is Brahman, and this they realize it. Thank you.
Guruji, can I add to that answer just a little bit with your permission?
Yeah. Sure.
So Adi Shankara in Vajra Suchika Upanishad. So he's asked this question, who is a Brahmana? And I found that answer very fascinating. In fact, it's the same. Whatever you said is the same thing. But Adi Shankara goes to he says, are you a Brahmana because of the jati that you're in? And he says that, no, Jivatman goes different jati. Then he says, are you a Brahmana because of the body that you have? Then he says, no, because everybody has got similar body functions. That can't be the case. Then he says, are you a Brahmana because of the color of your skin? He says, no, we have got people with different skin colors, and so that can't be the case either. Then he's going through various issues. And in the end, he says, a Brahmana is a person who's realized Brahman. who is devoid of feelings of jealousy, of want, of all these negativism, and feels benevolence towards all creation. Just exactly what is the Guruji, that the Guru sees everybody as a Brahmana equally, as part of Brahman. So I really like Adi Shankara in Vajra Suchika, where he discusses this issue.
Yes. Yes, that is the advantage of having a historian by your side. You get taka proof, facts. Yes.
There are many more questions, but due to the limitation of time, we would need to end the question answer session. Thank you, Guruji. Thank you, Dr. Raj Vedam ji, for this very engaging and insightful Upanishad. Thank you all for being a wonderful audience, as always. Until we meet again, namaste. Do make a note of our upcoming Upanishads. 4th September, we have Sri Shantanu Gupta, author, political analyst. And 25th September, we have Srimati Deepthi Omcheri Bhalla, singer, dancer. Thank you.